Aloha, this is Pastor Tom Choi welcoming you to our Wednesday check-in for November 11th, 2020. With all of the division in our nation these days, I want to share a personal story about how people can come together and make a connection. Before I do that, however, on this Veterans Day, I want to thank all military personnel, active duty, retired, and those who served for a period of time. Thank you for your service in defense of our nation. Because of you and your nonpartisan service, we enjoyed the benefits of living as a people with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and many other freedoms. My sincere and heartfelt thanks to you all. Several years ago, when I was about 12, my parents and I took a vacation to the Grand Tetons National Park and then to Yellowstone National Park. Since my dad was a pastor and we didn't have a lot of money, our idea was that camping was probably the most economical way to go on vacation. So we went camping at the Grand Tetons and then Yellowstone, and our plan was to go from there to Canada. Now, to do that, we had to travel through the state of Montana. My dad was tired, and so my mom, who had only recently gotten her driver's license, took over for what we thought would be a pretty uncrowded and uneventful stretch through the towns of Butte and Missoula. This was, however, on a 2-lane highway with soft shoulder on either side. Barreling down the highway on the opposite side were these big logging trucks. They took up almost the entire lane, and it was intimidating to my mom. At one point, a truck passed by and she moved to the right a bit, caught the soft shoulder, tried to correct herself, swerved into the opposite lane, almost hit a car, then swerved right and way off onto the shoulder, and it just happened that there was a ditch that was on that stretch of highway, and she drove right into it. And as she did, she plowed dirt into the interior of our car. And then the car stopped. This was actually a blessing to be in that ditch, because if we were on a flat area, I'm sure that we would have flipped over, and my dad, who was lying on the back seat without a seatbelt, would probably have been seriously injured or would have died. So here we were in the middle of nowhere in Montana. My mom was pretty shaken up. I was a little freaked out, but all had happened so fast that I was not too bad. My dad was okay, just a little confused at first because he had been asleep. Now, when we got out of the car, there were 2 other cars there. One belonged to a young man, probably in his 20s, who had a CB radio in his car, and he called for a tow truck because our car was not drivable. The other car belonged to 2 young college-aged women who were from Wisconsin, because they talked a lot about the Green Bay Packers. The young man made sure we were okay, and then stood on the side of the road and motioned for cars to keep going and not stop to look at what was going on. The 2 young women, who were very personable, talked to us and kept us company while we were waiting. When they found out that we were scheduled to go to Canada, they said that they were as well, and said if we wanted, they had an empty back seat and we could make the trip with them. Now, thinking about it many years later, I don't think they were really serious. They were just being nice. But I thought they were very sincere, and who knows? But it was just the nicest thing for them to say that to us, especially since we were total strangers. And here's the thing. Both the young man with the CB radio and the 2 Wisconsin college women stayed with us for what must have been 2 or 3 hours before the tow truck arrived. And the college women drove us to Missoula, where there was a garage to fix our car. They were just incredibly kind and friendly. I'm telling you, the more I think about it, the more amazing I think those people were. Total strangers, totally nice, ready to help out this Korean pastor's family in a time of need. I wonder if we were the first Koreans these people had ever met in person, but it didn't matter. They were just so wonderful to us. In Hebrews 13:2 it says, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that some have entertained angels without knowing it." Now, that's very true. But I think it's also true that if you turn that passage around and paraphrased it and had it come out this way, it would also be a true statement. Do not neglect to notice the hospitality of strangers, for in doing so, you will have been entertained and served by angels without knowing it. And that was certainly true for our family many years ago on the dusty highways of Montana. We met, without knowing it, 3 angels of mercy and grace. These days we tend to be fearful of and or suspicious of strangers, and I do believe that we need to be careful. But there are strangers out there who may be angels that we don't notice at first. But if and when we do, may we give thanks to God for a touch of God's amazing grace in our lives for those glorious, blessed moments. Amen. Our Zoom prayer group starts in a few moments. Join us this Sunday at 10 a.m. for online worship in English, where we will have a special guest speaker, Lavinia Taukolo, our seminary intern. As usual, we will have live prayers and wonderful music. I hope you'll join us. Our Tongan worship is online at 11, and until then, may the kindness of strangers bless you, and may you be touched by angels. Amen.